Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome back to the Whiskey Jedi podcast here. I'm Jake Berlin, your host for this Star Wars and whiskey fused podcast I have here going on the channel. Thank you so much for coming by, stopping by. I'm very excited about today's episode. If you have not joined the episode or the show before, what I do here is I talk a lot of Star Wars and I drink whiskey while doing it. I highlight a bunch of whiskeys each and every episode. And today I got a good one. I got a really, really cool one that I have not done a version of this whiskey on the show yet. And that is all thanks to my guest, Mr. Maxwell Haddad, who will be joining me in just a quick second. But yes, thank you so much for joining me. And again, if you have not been by the show before, what I do is I basically take a topic and we break it down. We discuss it. It can be anywhere from a news story to a picked, selected topic like we have today. It can be hypothetical, it can be, real world. It can be anything in the vein of Star Wars. I don't limit it to anything specific. And, that's kind of what I do. I want to talk Star Wars with my friends in a very positive, lighthearted manner. And I have a lot of friends who are Star Wars fans, but I also have a lot of fans who are whiskey fans, which is a big deal for me. So with that all said, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my guest. I've gotten the pleasure to know him over the last a year or so through the Schmodown community, certain podcasts, stuff like that. And it's been a blast. And now it's him and I finally on a show together. And that is Mr. Maxwell Haddad. What's up, man?
Hey, man. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Honestly, I'm still recovering from last night a little bit. We had our big 1-year anniversary stream over at the Pajukin, and it went long, and there was a lot of alcohol. So it was a rough morning and afternoon, but I feel pretty good now, and I am ready to talk Star Wars and whiskey, two of my all-time favorite topics. It's like the perfect blend, pun intended.
Yeah, no. What you guys were able to accomplish over the last year and what you guys did last night was awesome. I know a lot of people who are watching this watched it. And I'm glad you're awake and ready to dive into some Star Wars.
I am so ready. I got my Whiskey Jedi shirt on.
Look at that. Look at that.
And this is my way of saying that if anyone ever tells you, don't wear a shirt of the band you're going to see, ignore it. If you're going to see a band you love, wear the shirt, wear the hat, show that you love it. I'm a Whiskey Jedi fan. I'm a Jake Berlin fan, so I got to rock that merch.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate that. Yeah, if you guys are interested, I don't know if it's up at the moment because actually Lucasfilm and Disney keeps striking it. I'll put it back up on the TeePublic page. It's available where the POV stuff is available. If you're interested, you don't have to, but just if you're interested. All right, Maxwell. Well, the way it works on my show is I allow the guests to essentially pick the topic, pick the whiskey. Let's start with the Star Wars topic we have today. And it's a good one that I love, and I know that you love very much as well. What are we doing today, man?
Yeah, so, when you asked me to be on the show, my mind started going crazy thinking about what I thought would be fun and unique to talk about with Star Wars. And I was like, well, to me, one of the defining things of Star Wars is its music. If I were to make a list of the greatest film scores of all time and television, now that they've gone into animated and Mandalorian, the music of Star Wars stands out. And I'm a huge film score guy. Like, I think the 3 genres of music I listen to the most are like pop punk / emo, film scores, and then musical theater.
Yeah.
So and when my wife picks up my phone to look through my iTunes or Spotify, she's like, "Where's the real music? I don't want to listen to this score." I'm like, "This is real music."
Yeah.
So, and then, for structure purposes, I was like, well, why don't we pick our 10 favorite tracks, which, spoiler alert, has ended up being 12 because I couldn't cut 2.
Yeah. I'm very, very happy that you messaged me. He's like, dude, I can't get to 10. I just can't get to 10.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah, so 12 is perfect, but we're going to run down the list, and we'll do a couple, and then we'll get to the whiskey part of this, because this is a whiskey that I'm very excited to talk about. Very excited to talk about. Just a teaser, I've never done a Japanese whiskey on this show, and I was very, very happy that Maxwell decided to do this with me, so we will do that here in just a little bit, but let's start with these tracks, because we do have 12 each to get through, and I will allow you to go first, sir. What came in at the very last spot at number 12 for Star Wars tracks?
Okay, so some people may immediately scoff that I have this at 12, but it is the Cantina Band track from Star Wars A New Hope, if you are so inclined. This track is so different than the majority of the rest of the music we're talking about today, but it's iconic. I think if it plays, you immediately know it's Star Wars. You can immediately visualize the scene and the band at Mos Eisley Cantina. It's brassy and fun, and I love when John Williams, experiments with other styles a little bit, which is why, as an aside, I'm such a fan of his "Catch Me If You Can" score, because it felt like he was playing in this jazzy idiom, which I think Cantina Band is. It's a track you could like dance to, party to. There's so many great remixes of it, like trance or house or EDM remixes. It just makes me happy, and it's a great track.
Yeah, it's one of the synonymous ones with Star Wars, outside of the main theme, and maybe like another one if you're like a Star Wars fan. When you hear that song, you immediately know it's Star Wars.
Yeah,
and it's just a great, like you said, it's so different and unique from everything else going on. Plus, it's like these just dudes, these aliens playing musical instruments in a Star Wars bar, and it's like this is the tune they go for.
I love it.
All right, number 12 for me. And I don't know if a lot of people will include this movie on their list. I did. And it came in at the last spot for me. It's a track that I really like because it kind of combines a lot of things that happen towards the end of the movie. And I went with The Rise of Skywalker, and I went with Destiny of a Jedi. For me, when I think of tracks with scores, I've like you just said, I think of the scene that it's taking place.
Mm-hmm.
And this was one in the kerfuffle of a movie that movie is. This is one of the scenes that I really actually did enjoy. It's between Luke and Rey on Octo, Force Ghost Luke and Rey, as Rey is kind of going through her little situation. She finds Leia's lightsaber, and Luke has that great words of wisdom towards her, and then it finishes off with him picking up the X-Wing. Destiny of Jedi is by far my favorite track on the entire score of Rise of Skywalker. There's a couple ones on there. But yeah, I love it in the moment. It really impacts me because of the footage that's being shown. Obviously, Luke Skywalker, one of our greatest heroes, and kind of just pushing Rey to who she is supposed to be, eventually being all of the Jedi. So I went with Destiny of a Jedi.
Yeah, that's a great choice. I didn't end up having anything from Rise on my list, just because it didn't end up working out that way. But say what you will about Rise, and I do like it. I think it's a mess, and many bad decisions were made, but on its own terms, I enjoy watching it. And I think it's the emotional beats towards the end and middle end that work. And this scene, like you said, is great. And I don't think anyone would say that even in the worst of Star Wars, that John Williams still didn't compose his heart out. So yeah, it's a great choice. As soon as he said the title track, I knew it, or the title of the track, I immediately knew what scene it was. So yeah, it's good stuff.
All right, number 11.
Okay, so number 11 for me, I don't know how people are going to react to this. It's Augie's Great Municipal Band and end credits from The Phantom Menace. Which
okay.
I think kind of pairs well with Cantina Band there at the end of my my list. This is the song that plays at the end of Phantom Menace when they're having the big celebration on Naboo. There's something about it that I find so joyous and nostalgic. When I think Phantom Menace, I do think one other track, which we will get to. I'm pretty sure I would be shocked if we both don't have it at some point. But this one where it's like, it's fun and infectious and truly celebratory. And I like to use sound clips of this in random streams and stuff when a happy thing happens, because it's immediately recognizable. And again, much like Cantina Band, I think this is a track where Mr. Williams is playing in a little bit different sandbox than the more orchestral and space opera-y notes of most of it. So yeah, really fun track. And then, it goes into the end credits suite, which sort of has a medley of different themes from the film. So it's cheating a little bit, but it's all together in one really great 9-minute and 37-second track. So
it's almost 10 minutes long.
Yeah. Well, because it plays into that end scene, and then the da-dun, 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 with directed by George Lucas comes, and then it has the whole credit suite. So it's a long one.
It again, like you had mentioned with the Cantina, it's unique. It's so unique and different from anything else in Star Wars that he really does. Because what we love about Star Wars music, and a lot of it does kind of play off of each other. The Cantina, it's all vastly different from what we know in Star Wars. So I can definitely see why someone would pick that. All right, I went with a track from Rogue One for number 11.
Okay.
And I know that when this movie came out, a lot of people weren't talking about the score, and rightfully so, right? It was the first movie we ever got that didn't have John Williams at the helm. Michael Giacchino does it. And so I went with probably the one that's most well-known. It's called Jyn Erso and Hope Suite. It kind of can be considered the main theme of the movie, I guess you can say, outside of the Empire track and stuff like that. I don't know what it is about this track. I really love how subtle and beautiful Jin's is, and then it kind of transitions into this like, very bright and, for lack of a better word, hopeful track that leads right into what the original Star Wars is all about, with the rebellion and getting back the galaxy, going up against the Empire, stuff like that. When I was going through all of these tracks, I really wasn't expecting to put a Rogue One on there, but I was starting to listen. I'm like, yeah, like I dig what Michael Giacchino had been doing with this. I really did dig it, especially with the Jyn Erso aspect. And then you just throw in that hope stuff, and it's beautiful. But yeah, so Rogue One for me.
Yeah, I love this choice. I didn't end up with anything with the Rogue One on my list, which is kind of a mistake, but list making is difficult. I think both this and Jurassic World is the inevitable conclusion of the fact that Giacchino is the successor to John Williams.
Absolutely.
I think they're very similar. I'm going to share this piece of art that's normally hanging up there where you can't see it, that I got at D23. So this is Jin's theme, score music from Rogue One, which has, at the bottom, can't really see it with there we go. At the bottom, it has the stormtroopers at the Battle of Scarif, and then here is Michael Giacchino's signature. So I love this.
Awesome. That is awesome.
So, considering I own that, I should have put it on the list, but oops.
It's all good.
Well, I'm glad we got it covered, though.
All right, number 10, and then we'll talk about some whiskey.
Okay. So number 10, and now we're getting into some heavy hitters, is Yoda and the Force from Empire. This is when Luke is on Dagobah, and this uses the Force theme, which I think sometimes is also called Leia's theme, depending on who you talk to. Mm-hmm. It's one of the more somber and beautiful themes that runs throughout all of Star Wars. Pretty much when this theme kicks in any movie, I get tears in my eyes. And I was trying to decide which track that uses it, because there's also Binary Sunset.
Yep.
But I went with this one because it also has some of like the moody Dagobah Yoda stuff, so it has like a creepy element to it, and then it evolves into that gorgeous Force theme. So yeah, that's why I went with this one. Such an incredible track that sums up the more mystical side of Star Wars music.
I will withhold any thoughts on my end for that one.
Fair.
All right.
I believe they call that a punt.
Yes, that is a punt. All right, so the other side of this podcast is obviously the whiskey side of it. And as I mentioned before, I've never done a Japanese whiskey on this show. And so when you brought this to me, I was like, yes, like this is perfect. I love this. What is it about the Hibiki Harmony from Suntory that you love so much?
Well, I'm a big fan of Japanese whiskey in general. And I won't lie, one of my favorite movies of all time is Lost in Translation. And, I was 16 when that came out, and I saw it in theaters. And, a big plot of that is he's in Japan making commercials for Suntory. Suntory is the house that makes Hibiki. So I always knew subconsciously that once I turned 21 or before, because who waits, that I wanted to try it. I didn't really get an appreciation for serious whiskey until I was older. But I find Hibiki so drinkable. It's a little sweet. It's soft. I love the amber color of it. It has some mild fruity notes. It is a blend. It's not a single malt. And what's interesting is just a little background about Hibiki. So they used to have, and you could still get them, but they're super expensive now. So instead of the Harmony, which is a blend, they used to have the Hibiki 12 year and the Hibiki 17 year. That was the way you would buy it. And they basically ran out of those aged barrels. There was a whiskey shortage. So they took what they had and then some other stuff from their different barrels that they have throughout the whole Suntory family of whiskeys to make the Hibiki Harmony blend. And, if you were to do like a taste test of the Harmony and the 12 year, there's definitely a noticeable difference. The 12 year is better, but as someone who used to drink the 12 year a lot, the Harmony still
it's as close as you can get, right?
Yeah, it's as close as you can get. It still wets, that whistle for me. And probably my favorite part is I think it is the most beautiful whiskey bottle on the planet. That's not like a $1,000 fancy crystal bottle. I think the design of the bottle, the ridges at the top, it's immediately striking and stands out. I love their logo and the design. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's, I talk about bottles a lot because I try to, you want it to be appealing. You want the bottle, like, because if you don't know about the distillery or the company or anything like that, when you see it on the shelf, you'd be like, well, that looks great.
Right.
'Cause sometimes color won't do it for you, and it's more so about what the appearance and everything. And you're right, the bottle is very unique. It's very different compared to a lot of other companies. I did a little backstory on this, and it's go ahead.
No, I was also going to just say I love that when you buy it, it comes in a box, right?
Yes.
Not all whiskeys come in a box. And, so on the shelf, you may not see the bottle or they may have a display one, but this box is so striking. Again, the iconography of the Hibiki and Suntory logo just immediately takes me to Japan. And then you open the box and it's just such a beautiful presentation that it's not an inexpensive bottle of whiskey, but I think the level of presentation you get with the box and the bottle suggests a higher price point than you might expect.
Absolutely.
Than it actually is what I meant.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did a little research of this, and it's very cool how this whiskey is actually made. It's made from, and you had mentioned it's a blend from 3 different distilleries, 2 in Japan and 1 in China. They take their time with this, and it's actually aged in 5 different casks. So they put it together in 5 different barrels over years, and they mix it all together, let it blend. And, just thinking about the time they put into this suggests that any price point they give on it is worth it because of the way that it's going to taste, the way that they take their time on it. You can feel the love, you can feel the flavor. It does have that kind of smoky finish, which I really enjoy. It's very smooth. You mentioned the fruitiness to it. The fruitiness is awesome. It has just the right touch of it. And the color is obviously a big deal too. I really, really look at the color of whiskey a lot, and it's a beautiful looking whiskey. And again, I've never really been a big Japanese whiskey guy. I've had it maybe once or twice, not because I don't like it, just because I've never really ventured into it. But now that I have, it's like I can really see myself coming home from a long day at work, or at a party eventually in the future, just sipping on a glass of whiskey of this and enjoying my time. So, great call, man. Seriously.
Generally, if we're going out, and I want to drink whiskey, if they have Hibiki on the menu, that's what I'm going to order, or another Japanese whiskey. There's a lot of other stuff I like, but it's sort of my standard go-to if I'm having a nice dinner at like a steakhouse or something.
Yeah, now that I know, it's definitely something I'm going to look out for.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back to it. We have 9 more to go. Oh, I got to review my 10. My 10. There you go. All right, my number 10 comes from the second spin-off movie in Star Wars, and that is from Solo. I went with Reminiscence Therapy.
Okay.
And it can be considered the main theme, if you will, of Solo. If I'm not mistaken, and I might be completely wrong on this is during the Kessel Run, if I'm not mistaken. It's a very long track, but it has the hint of John Williams' Han Solo theme in it, mixed together with a lot of other stuff that you recognize from Star Wars, plus some new stuff from John Powell. To me, I think John Powell's score in Solo is probably the most underrated out of all of them. It's not talked about a lot, but there's some really cool stuff in there. And I really enjoy most of Solo myself. And I did my best to find a track that went in there, and I just listened to Reminiscence Therapy, earlier, and I was like, yeah, this has got to find a way in here. And it just makes me want to sit back, enjoy Solo. Very old school feel to the track. A lot of fun, a lot of adventure to it, which is exactly what the movie went for. So, Reminiscence Therapy from Solo, a Star Wars story.
That's an awesome choice. I think we'll be talking about Solo again in a bit, but I will take this opportunity to say hashtag make Solo 2 happen.
Yes, hell yeah.
I love Solo. It's just works so well. It's like a pulp adventure. Mm-hmm. And I think the casting is great. It's just a fun movie, and I would love to see more of the cast in those roles. Absolutely agree.
Yeah. All right, we are in the top 10 now. What do we got for number 9?
So my number 9 is from Last Jedi, a movie that every time I watch it, I love it more, and I could see in the future it being my favorite Star Wars movie. It's currently at number 2. That might be a hot take for some people. I don't care. I went with Ahch-To Island, which is the second track on the score. This is a theme that was established at the end of Force Awakens when Rey arrives to Ahch-To Island.
Walking up the steps, right?
Yep. And then it expands here in this track, and this is the resolution of the cliffhanger where Rey's giving Luke the lightsaber, and then of course Rian Johnson, that cad that he is immediately has Luke throw it away, which angered many people, but delighted me. I thought it was such a great subversive choice. But I think this actually pairs pretty well with Yoda and the Force, because it's another more ethereal, sort of haunting track. I think it really establishes that Ahch-To Island is a place of mystery and magic, and it really sets the scene for the journey that Luke and Rey go on throughout The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Really beautiful track, and it gets used some other times throughout the movie, but I think this piece is the best representation of that theme Williams wrote for the island.
Yeah, that the concluding moments of The Force Awakens, I always recognize the music when she's walking up the steps, she's walking up the hill to find Luke, and then it kind of in The Last Jedi. Like you said, Ahch-To is this mysterious place. It's the place of the first ever Jedi temple, and you need to make sure people realize that. And one way to do that in Star Wars is with a great music track. So you're 100% right on that one.
Yep.
All right, number 9. I'm going to my favorite movie of all time, and that is The Empire Strikes Back, and I'm going with an absolute classic, and that is Han Solo and the Princess. Han Solo and the Princess. I know a lot of people probably have this a lot higher. There's a lot of stuff that I like just a little bit more than it, but this track, is just such a touching, beautiful piece of music that plays into the love story that is Han and Leia. That it can be considered one of the greatest love stories, if not the greatest love story of all time. And they're two of the main characters, obviously, and the fact that they got this incredible theme that was so different from the main track of Star Wars and the Empire theme and all this stuff that was going on, you get this really soft-noted track that's playing throughout the background. It's just a beautiful touch by John Williams, and it's one of his masterful pieces, in my opinion, of music. And to give two of the greatest characters of all time, this track is beautiful. Plays eventually into what the sequel trilogy did as well, and it's one of those synonymous piece of music to Star Wars fan. When they hear it, they immediately know what it is. Might even get a little teary-eyed because of the end result. But Han Solo and the Princess at number 9.
Yeah, that's a great pick. It didn't make my list just because I really was consciously trying to spread the love throughout the entire Star Wars universe. So I pretty much ended up with just, other than one case, surprisingly, one choice from each film. But yeah, I agree with what you said about Han and Leia, one of the iconic love stories in cinema history. I mean, it doesn't get any better than I Love You, I Know. It's just and again, all credit to George and everyone and what they created, but I think the MVP of the Star Wars movies is the music that John Williams wrote. Absolutely. It is as much a force, pun intended, of storytelling and mood and thematics as the writing and the acting. And this is, it's a beautiful choice.
Yeah, it's funny when we come into Star Wars movies. Of course, we're talking about the Force powers and whatever didn't work. But always, I hear people talk about all the time the score, whether they liked it or not. It's always one of the top 3 things that are always mentioned in every Star Wars fans, which is very, very rare in movies. It's very rare. It always comes up, but within that high of a list, it's very rare. So yeah. All right, number 8, Maxwell. What do we got?
So for number 8, I decided to head over to The Mandalorian. And it was hard to pick one track.
Yeah, it has such great music over there.
I think what Ludwig Göransson has done with The Mandalorian is incredible. I think more so even than John Powell or Michael Giacchino, he has set the tone for what new Star Wars music can be, considering that John Williams is done, which, I think is the right choice. The Skywalker saga is done. Let it pass on. Mm-hmm. And also because of the tone of the show, it's in its own way kind of different than a lot of the movies. But I ended up picking a track that I think is more reminiscent of Star Wars movies and not as much of the theme or maybe even electronic stuff he did, and that is the Seeing Stone.
Love it. Okay.
This is from season 2. Spoilers if you haven't watched The Mandalorian. This is after they meet Ahsoka, after we find out Baby Yoda's named Grogu. Jin takes him to the Seeing Stone, and he's sort of being one with the Force, and there's all these funny blue lights coming, and this music just swells. And I remember in the moment watching it, I got so emotional because of the music. So when I went to pick a Mandalorian track, this is the one I leaned on. I almost just went with the opening title theme because I think it's an instantly iconic piece of theme music. but my heart went out with the emotional track, The Seeing Stone.
Yeah, obviously we know by the end of season 2 that how emotional it can really get. At the end of the day, season 1 and season 2 was all about Mando and Grogu. That's what it was about.
Yeah.
And when you can put together a beautiful piece of music like that for a character like Grogu, and like you said, I completely agree with you that what Ludwig is doing, he's playing off of what made Star Wars music so great, but really giving it his own flavor. And a lot of people, I remember like when the first episode that came out, they were like, yeah, it's so new. Like I have to get used to it. Now we're all talking about it.
Yeah.
Like we're all talking about it. So I love that it's included. And the fact that he can do something with just a seeing stone is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
All right. Number 8 for me. I'm not going to the Mando just yet. I'm going to the animated show of the Clone Wars. And season 7. One of the climactic episodes towards the end, and I'm using Race to the Surface from the Clone Wars season 7. And this is the scene where Ahsoka, Rex, and the 501st, they get to Mandalore, and she heads her way down to Mandalore, wrecking shop on her way down. I know a lot of people recognize a lot of familiar notes from something like Revenge of the Sith at the opening scene of that, thinking that it may play into that as well. But there's just something about this track that really hits with me. I don't exactly know what it is. It may be that Ahsoka is one of my favorite characters of all time. The fact that she's back with Rex, the way that it ends of like, things never change. You'll never beat me, et cetera, et cetera. That they're heading to Mandalore. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's just so climactic for me. It's just a beautiful piece of music. What Kevin Kiner did with season 7 was incredible. Those final episodes are some of the best pieces of music that I enjoy personally. With Race to the Surface being the top one. But I love what a lot of Clone Wars and Rebels have done, but for me, this is like top-notch Star Wars music right here.
Yeah, Kevin Kiner is incredible. The work he did both on Rebels and Clone Wars, and we will be talking about something else in a second. But yeah, that's a great choice. See, they nailed the ending of Clone Wars. I think partly because of how the production shook out and delays here and there, that the series as taken as a whole is a little messy, but where it mattered, they killed it. And his music was a big part of that. Those last, 4 or 5, 6 episodes or so are just some of the best Star Wars storytelling you could ever see.
Oh, there he goes. Of course it was going to happen.
Kylo.
I would have to agree with you. All right, moving on to number 7.
Okay, so we're talking Kevin Kiner again. Number 7 is from the season 2 finale of Star Wars Rebels. It's actually the last track. Ahsoka decides to stay back in the temple as the Ghost crew leaves. Ezra finally opens the Sith holocron. Ahsoka had just had her sort of face off with Vader, who is her old apprentice, she was his old apprentice, Padawan. The track is called It's Over Now. I had wanted to maybe do something from season 4 of Rebels, but I don't think they actually released score albums for seasons 3 and 4.
I don't remember seeing that at all. I don't think they did anything past season 2 for pop or anything of that.
No, I don't think they did either. But regardless, this track is beautiful. Ahsoka is one of my probably top 5 favorite all-time Star Wars characters, which is such great justice considering how some people felt about her when she was first introduced. I think her journey in Rebels particularly is remarkable. And now, of course, she's getting her own live action show, which is going to be dope as hell. I'll never forget. I was on that reaction video you did for the episode where she appeared on The Mandalorian, and we were freaking out to finally see her in live action. But yeah, this track and this scene, like the season 2 finale of Rebels, I think is masterful. And partly because of Clone Wars and one of the great things about like universe storytelling where you can tell stories in different shows or movies is some of the emotional baggage from Clone Wars gets to be resolved and dealt with in Rebels. And one of the best parts of Clone Wars was the developing relationship between Master and Apprentice with Anakin and Ahsoka. So to me, this track really defines Ahsoka's journey in Star Wars Rebels Season 2. And then, of course, we don't see her for a while again. And then when she comes back, it's incredible. Please, please, please watch Star Wars Rebels if you haven't seen it. It's one of my favorite things in the world. And if Elizabeth is still in the chat, she will admit that a certain episode in Season 4 where a certain someone is no longer with us, is arguably the most I've ever cried at anything I've ever watched.
Dude, I'm with you. And that it's heartbreaking to watch. But back to the track. Yes, I would have to agree with you. It's like I had mentioned up top with when I did the Rise of Skywalker track. I immediately can hear and see everything going on in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Just the moment of them fighting, the moment where Ahsoka pushes Ezra away and the door closes on them, just everything that's happening in that episode. It is to the T perfect Star Wars storytelling, and it comes with beautiful music as well. So yes, I absolutely agree with that one.
Awesome.
All right, number 7 for me. I'm going basic on this one. We mentioned Mando already, and I'm just going to do the basic Mandalorian track. There's a lot of stuff I love in what Ludwig is doing in Mandalorian. There was one from episode 3 of season 1 that I was really, really high on, which is called Mando Rescue. But I can without even thinking about Mandalorian Star Wars, I'll immediately start humming this theme. It is caught on to me so much over the past 2 years. People using it in backgrounds of videos, the opening of the show, like just everything about it now for me screams Star Wars. And it's funny because when they first dropped it, I was like, yeah, I don't really know how I feel. It feels very sporty. It doesn't really hit with me. But then I got to know this character of the Mandalorian. I'm like, absolutely, this is this dude's theme. This is 100% this guy's theme. It's beautiful. It's one of the best tracks in Star Wars ever for me personally, and I cannot wait to see what Ludwig does for season 3 and beyond. Hopefully, he gets a movie at some point. I would love to see him do a Star Wars movie. But for now, I would absolutely love to see it.
I would love him to do Rogue Squadron.
Oh, dude, Ludwig with Patty Jenkins.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
Although I also wouldn't mind if it's Hans Zimmer's first foray into Star Wars because they just worked together on Wonder Woman 84. But yeah, so. I love The Mandalorian. You could see my Mando guy here on my shelf. And it's true. Like, everything about the first episode of The Mandalorian was jarring just because it was so unlike anything Star Wars we'd ever seen. We had never seen a live-action TV show. We had never had a main focal character who doesn't take off his helmet and is very, very stoic and taciturn. And then the music was a bold swing, and it could have failed miserably. But I think, arguably in today's society or today's zeitgeist, the Mandalorian theme is as iconic a piece of Star Wars music as you got.
Yep.
You say the word Mandalorian and it's immediately in my head. Partly probably because Sully has it on his soundboard and plays it like 3 to 4 times anytime we're streaming in any context. But yeah, it's incredible. It sets the tone for the show so well. And it's kind of a bop in its own way, too. Like, it makes you want to, like, ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum.
It has that beat. It makes you like the bobblehead.
It's like the closest Star Wars has gotten to being like, we're in the club now.
That's so true.
So it's a great choice. And the track I picked for Mando does have a little element of this theme in it because Ludwig weaves it in impactful moments in the show so beautifully. So yeah, it's a great choice. And I love, and partly why I wanted to talk about Star Wars music is I love to chart and talk about the evolution of it, and how it's growing with Star Wars. Because we're in a point now where Star Wars is as vast as it's ever been and is just continuing to grow. And I personally am thrilled about it. And the more music we get and the more different composers that are given the opportunity to play in the Star Wars sandbox is awesome.
Yeah, and we talked about it. You know, Star Wars out of all the franchises is the one that's most well known for its music, right? There's obviously franchises like the Jurassic Parks or the Indiana Jones and stuff that have the great music, but when you think of Star Wars, one thing is like, okay, who's going to be composing the movie? Who's going to be composing the movie? And like you said, it allows for a lot of composers to come in and put their stamp on Star Wars, which is going to be a lot of fun. Now, like I remember when Rogue One came out because it was the first time that we had saw someone other than Williams do anything in Star Wars, and 5-6 years later, we're thinking to ourselves, yeah, that's actually a really good score. It just needed time.
Yeah.
But now Ludwig, after an episode or two, he's like one of the guys in Star Wars. Like, let him do everything at this point.
Yeah. Well, I think we're at a point now where there's not going to be that same initial hesitation. I think because the differences and experimentation in Star Wars music is, significant now, that whatever movies and TV shows we get coming forward, and I don't know necessarily, if Ludwig is going to compose for, Rangers or the Ahsoka show or whatever. Or I don't know if I think Kevin is doing Bad Batch.
I believe so.
I'm pretty sure, but it'll be fun to see who now make the opportunity to write music for Star Wars.
Now that John Williams isn't there, it feels like a lot bigger composers like the Hans Zimmers of the world might step in a little bit.
Maybe. I mean, that would be, anything's possible. I mean, this is a guy who after, I don't know, maybe after The Dark Knight Rises, said I'm never doing a superhero score again. And then he did Dark Phoenix and Wonder Woman 84. So who knows?
Very true. Very true. All right. We are close to our top 5. Before we get there, we are at number 6. What do you got at number 6, sir?
Okay. Number 6 is one that maybe I'm ranking a little too low. It's Duel of the Fates.
Ooh, hot take, maybe? Hot take?
Look, I'm still saying it's one of the 10 best pieces of Star Wars music ever. So this is just where it ended up on the list. Arguably as iconic a piece of Star Wars music as we got. I love The Phantom Menace. I know the prequels get shit, although I think in the intervening years there's been a shift in
absolutely.
In the way people view the prequels. And I think the prequels have some of the best Star Wars music. So I realize now I said only one movie has 2 tracks, and it's Phantom Menace, because I also had the one from the end. The lightsaber battle between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Maul is incredible. And I would say it's 90% because of Duel of the Fates. The way he uses the deep choral voices that reminds me of like Carmina Burana, like classic Gothic choral music. It just gives me chills thinking about it. This track is baller.
It's in Star Wars had been gone for 20 plus years at that point, and you needed something to like. And it was well into the movie, obviously, but you needed something to like really hook people and be like, wow. And if I'm not mistaken, it was also the fastest that we've ever seen John Williams do a Star Wars piece of music. I mean, dun 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 dun, like this quickest music in all of Star Wars. And it's just like you said, it's composed.
Cheers.
So beautifully. Yes, thank you again, man. Appreciate it. Cheers. Glad to be talking Star Wars with you.
It's good stuff. I really shouldn't be drinking more after last night, but if you're doing a show with whiskey in the title, you got to at least have a couple sips.
Exactly. But yeah, I can understand why people have it at number 1. I can understand why people have it at number 6 or 10. It's just that iconic piece of music that everyone recognizes.
My last point about Duel of the Fates is I think it was a missed opportunity not to have it in Rise of Skywalker.
I agree.
Especially considering the efforts they went to sort of make it like a closed loop of the entire 9-movie saga. Because they had used it in a TV spot that came out about a week or 2 before the movie. And I remember flipping out that they were using it in the marketing. I was like, well, that's it. It's going to play. It's going to play in the movie. I was like, I don't know if Kylo and Rey are going to, because at this point we didn't know much about the movie. I was like, I don't know if Kylo and Rey are going to have like a big final climactic battle. I don't know if Kylo's going to turn and they're going to team up and have to fight. Turns out to be Palpatine. But I think in that scene at the end where Kylo turns, he has his incredible shrug, which is like the most Han Solo-y shrug and one of my favorite moments in the sequel trilogy. I'm like, oh yeah, this is Han's kid. And when they started fighting, they should have used not necessarily the whole track, but the theme in there somewhere. But it's okay.
They should have weaved it in for sure. I agree with you. It would have, like you said, it was a full circle moment or movie. They brought everything together. Why not do the same thing with a score? So I absolutely agree with you. All right, number 6 for me. Before we get to number 5 here, I'm sticking with the sequel trilogy, and I'm gonna go Rey's theme from The Force Awakens. I am obsessed with this track. And I also love the fact that we just talked about weaving it in. It is weaved in so much throughout the entire sequel trilogy. It is in The Last Jedi. It is in The Rise of Skywalker. It's in that big moment that we just talked about, the climactic battle up against Palpatine. And I just love how different and unique it is compared to a lot of other Star Wars themes that we get. It's slow, it's soft, but it also has this really upbeat feel to it. And it absolutely fits the character of Rey perfectly. Where she came from, where she goes, and where she ends up. It is one of the perfect situations as far as a character and theme go. And that happens a lot in Star Wars, but for me, it's one of the best. And there's two different ones. There's actually the Scavenger and the Ray's theme. I love Ray's theme personally a lot more. It just fits my tune a little bit more. But yeah, when I heard this for the first time, I was almost hooked instantly.
I'm gonna wait and talk about this in a little bit.
Let's move on to our top 5.
I think is the best thing for me to say right now.
There, number 5.
Okay, at number 5, I have The Adventures of Han from Solo, a Star Wars story. This is the main theme for the film. John Williams came in to write just this theme, and then John Powell took over the rest of the score. And I love John Powell's score. I'm glad you had a John Powell track from it, but this theme that Williams wrote for Han, I think it was perfect that they got him because, he created all those iconic themes for the characters in the original trilogy. And then to have him come back and put this final little chef's kiss note on Han Solo. And I said earlier when we talked about Solo that what I love about the movie is it's plays like a pulp adventure film. And this to me is a perfect example of that sort of theme. You think of The Shadow or The Phantom or even stuff like Pirates of the Caribbean or The Lone Ranger, those type of movies. That's the type of movie Solo is, and this music is perfect. It has that sort of jaunty, we're going on an adventure. I have that too, yeah. I should have, I
forgot I had it.
It's fun. It's funny that you're showing it because yesterday, before I've had such a rough day in recovery, I made a mental note. Oh, make sure you grab that off your vinyl shelf to show up. But you got it covered. Yeah, I have it. I love it. But this track, man, it makes me feel like I'm ready to hop in the Millennium Falcon and go on an adventure with Chewie throughout the galaxy. It pumps me up. It's jubilant and it's just fun. Fun is the word. I know it's such a catch-all word, but this is a fun as hell track.
Yeah, and it fits, like you said, it fits the character of Han perfectly. And to have John just do this one track, the guy who had been doing music for him for a very long time, it was the perfect call, and it's such a great addition to what was a great overall score by John Powell.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just screams. It screams Han Solo. It screams Chewbacca. It screams the Millennium Falcon. And I'm so happy that you included it.
Yeah, and John Powell, for what it's worth, is one of my favorite composers, and I don't think he gets the credit he deserves because his music for How to Train Your Dragon series
absolutely
is some of the best film music we've gotten in the last 15 years, I guess.
I agree.
2011, 15 years.
Yeah, I would absolutely
agree. John Powell rocks.
All right, number 5 for me, I'm going to The Return of the Jedi, and I am going with the track The Return of the Jedi.
There it is.
It is.
Oh, wait. You said the name of the movie. I'm going to take a shot.
There you go. I'll do one with you. All right. So this track plays in the throne room as Palpatine / Emperor at that moment is trying to pull Luke to the dark side. He's trying to pull Luke to the dark side. And then he grabs his lightsaber and the Jedi fully returns. It's that moment, that whole scene of Luke at this point, yes, he looked like a Jedi. He was dressed like one, but he hadn't fully embraced being a Jedi at that point. He wasn't. That was the moment that shifted. And John Williams did this perfect thing of adding a track that fit the Jedi perfectly in the moment. It kind of combines a few things that we recognize throughout the whole trilogy, but it's a really culmination of Luke's journey at that point, and he's facing his biggest test to that point. He's facing the Emperor. He's saying no to the dark side. And ultimately facing his father as well, which is a big deal. It's a very heroic theme, which is why I enjoy it so much. And then it obviously plays into a lot of stuff we see in the prequels as well as the sequels. It's a very mainstay track, and I just enjoy the absolute hell out of it.
Yeah. I think Jedi has some of the best Star Wars music, and this whole scene is the emotional high point of the original trilogy, and Williams nails it. But I want to actually ask you a question about Jedi music, sort of off the list for a second. So where do you fall on Yub Nub versus Victory Celebration? Because that's one of the big changes that the special editions did. I like both of them.
So do I.
Yub Nub is, I think, more outwardly John Williamsy, but there's something about I don't know.
I think there's something more about Victory Celebration now because I've heard it so much more often.
Sure.
And I think it's kind of just like I've gotten used to it, but it's grown on me a little bit more over the years. I love Yub Nub. I love that track. I do. I think it's great. But I think I think the fact that I'm just so used to it and also it's grown on me, I would choose Victory Celebration at the moment.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's one of those questions that people have differing answers on, and there's no right or wrong answer.
Absolutely.
It's not like we're talking about Jedi Rocks.
That's true.
So, yeah. Number 4?
Number 4, we're cracking top 5. We are on number 4.
Okay, so number 4 is one you just talked about. It's Rey's theme.
Yes.
So I'm at the point now in Star Wars where Rey might be my number 1 favorite character.
Love it.
I have a Rey Hot Toys also. I just don't have her displayed on the shelf right now because I like the cycle.
Which one do you have?
It's from Force Awakens in her
Nice.
Jakku outfit with
Nice.
BB-8 next to her. And when I saw Force Awakens that opening Thursday night, still one of the best theater going experiences of my life. We saw it on the big Lincoln Center IMAX. I was wearing my Mark Hamill on the cover of Star Wars Insider t-shirt, which has now been thrown away because of stains and years of wear and tear. And you know, it was weird to my voice just got so high. It was weird to be sitting in a theater and watching Star Wars and being introduced to brand new characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because even in the prequel trilogy, to a certain extent, they're characters we already knew, just we knew in different stages of their life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the filmmaking in the opening 20 minutes with Rey on Jakku, where like the little bread thing is expanding, where
I love that moment,
where she's sitting in the sand, putting on the fighter helmet, where she's sliding around and exploring. And then this theme kicks in. I think it kicks in too when she is sliding down, sort of like on the sled.
Before she gets on her speeder, yeah.
And I immediately fell in love with this character. And I think like the best film music and best Star Wars music, this theme is synonymous with Rey as a character. I think it nails her tenacity. I think it nails her uniqueness. I think she's the most unique and different Star Wars hero. And actually, I was talking to PJ Campbell, I'll pick up that name I just dropped earlier, about this track. And we both agreed and said it sort of independently that it reminds us a lot of some of John Williams' Harry Potter music.
Oh, okay.
It feels less like Star Wars and more like Harry Potter. And I'm okay with that. And I think it's great because Rey is a young woman character who we're meeting and about to go on this journey. And in fact, I remember I was in the Disney store Times Square a couple of years ago, and you know, they play on the speakers all different sorts of different Disney music, and Rey's theme started to play, but I was having one of those brain fart moments where I couldn't remember what it was. And I remember thinking, why are they playing Harry Potter at the Disney store? But then I was like, oh wait, no, it's Rey's theme. I love this track, which is why it's at number 4. And I love Rey. It's so great, and I'm glad this is one we have shared on both of our lists.
Yeah, I agree with you about the character of Rey. I have enjoyed her from the beginning, but her journey through all 3 movies really just solidified her as like one of the greatest Star Wars characters for me. And to have a great track like she has, absolutely totally agree.
And not to hark on Rise too much, but you know, you had a track from it earlier, and I just want to note, in terms of Rey and Rise, there's a scene that I think is regardless of the movie as a whole, one of my favorite Star Wars scenes, and it's when she hears all the voices of the past Jedi. And when we heard Kanan's voice, I lost my shit. Like, I don't know if Elizabeth is still watching, but she also confirmed that was another moment where I started sobbing in the theater that first time we saw it. And I think Rey's arc overall, minus the Palpatine thing, which I sort of just ignore, is perfect. Where she starts, where she ends up. To me, she's not a Palpatine, and that's okay. But yeah, they did pretty good by Rey, especially with this theme.
Yeah, you and I are on the same page about the Palpatine thing. All right, number 4 for me, I'm going to Revenge of the Sith, one of my favorite Star Wars movies of all time. And this is Battle of the Heroes. This track is just bonkers. It really has that drama feel to it. Again, we say this a lot with Star Wars tracks, but when you listen to it, you know exactly what's happening. You know exactly. It's such an emotional moment. What John Williams has done with this theme, it's the first time we're seeing heroes we love, people we love, fight each other. Like it's a big deal. And so Battle of the Heroes for me is one of the, and look, Revenge of the Sith has a lot of great tracks. There's a couple other tracks that I really wanted to include in some way, but I just couldn't. But for me, the best one out of the bunch is by far Battle of the Heroes. And I think Revenge of the Sith personally is one of the most underrated Star Wars tracks in John Williams' list of movies. But yeah, Battle of the Heroes, number 4.
There you go. Great choice.
All right, let's get to number 3. We are officially in our top 3. What do you got, Maxwell?
So interesting that you just had a Revenge of the Sith, because I have a Revenge of the Sith. And if someone wants to say, hey, you're cheating, this is the one you could say, hey, you're cheating, because it's A New Hope and end credits, which is a 13-minute long track.
Oh my.
I love Revenge of the Sith. It is one of my favorite Star Wars movies. I actually rewatched it fairly recently, and I think it really just gets better and better, and I love it more and more. And like you were saying, there are so many great themes and musical motifs throughout. Like the music that plays during the battle on Mustafar is incredible. All this stuff. And why I love this track is it sort of cheats, because it just is 13 minutes weaving in all of the themes from Revenge of the Sith and Star Wars history.
That's fair.
Why calling it A New Hope and end credits is perfect, because it leads right into A New Hope. You have some of like the OG Star Wars theme, and then you have all the different beats from the music of the prequels and Revenge of the Sith especially. So yeah, 13 minutes of glorious Star Wars music.
That is absolutely fair. I almost did that for there was another movie that had the kind of a similar thing, but I was like, yeah, I'll keep that one up. But that is absolutely fair. That is absolutely fair.
Hey, it's on the album. It's a score track.
It's fair game. It is absolutely fair game. All right, number 3 for me, one we've actually already mentioned, and again, another shocker that it might not be a number 1. That is Duel of Fates. Duel of Fates at number 3. I'm actually surprised I don't have this at number 1 personally, because I love this track. I think this track is so great. It's perfect in my opinion. It plays the scene very, very well. The stuff that is happening in the moment, and it also fits the character of Maul and what Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are going through as well. Kind of how it teeters from very fast paced to slow paced, quiet to high. It's just great piece of music from John Williams. We talked about it before, but yeah, Duel of Fates, an all timer, not just in Star Wars, but period. It is synonymous for sure in music. People hear it, they know exactly what they're thinking about. So Duel of Fates at number 3.
I mean, I already said what I had to say about it. I added a couple. It's incredible. It's incredible. And ultimately, as is the case when I do any sort of ranking, the rankings are mostly arbitrary. Like you could shuffle them all around. It's mostly just a top 10 in any order, but yeah,
absolutely.
So gosh, number 2, huh?
We got 2 left. What do you got for number 2? The runner up, if you will.
So my runner up is, and stop me if you've heard about this piece of music before. It's a little thing called the Imperial March. From The Empire Strikes Back. It's Darth Vader's theme. I think arguably the greatest theme ever written for a villain in movie history.
Absolutely.
There are some things that have come close, but there is nothing to me that is as instantly auditorially synonymous with the character that is evil, or at least evil for most of those movies. You could hum. Everyone in the world could probably start humming it immediately. It's dark. It's brassy and bombastic, and it's thrilling, and it's just. This is another one that I've heard so many remixes of. It's great in like house or trap or EDM. Oh yes, Brandy says, "Oh, I know that one. I did it. I nailed it." Yeah. I mean, come on. The Imperial March. It is what it is. What can you say about one of the greatest pieces of film music ever, other than? This is one of the greatest pieces of film music ever written.
I think this is one of the few tracks that people who may not know Star Wars or have even seen Star Wars, they know exactly where it's from. Mm-hmm. They know exactly what it is. They even know, like you said, it's ultimately, it really is Vader's theme. It's the Imperial March, but it really is Vader's theme.
Well, it says, like on the track titles, it says the Imperial March, and then in parentheses, it does say Darth Vader's theme.
Cool.
So
perfect.
That is like the AKA title for it.
Exactly. So yeah, it's just great. It's such a just incredible, aggressive theme. And again, it sticks out from a lot of the other things that are happening currently in the Star Wars music at that time. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the themes that continued throughout the entire franchise and everything, right? Outside of the main Star Wars theme, Imperial March we saw in the prequels, we saw in the sequels, we saw in Clone Wars, we saw in Rebels. We see it everywhere.
And it every time they use it, I'm like, thank you. This is the right choice.
It's even in the audiobook form, the novel.
I see you have a Ray pop behind you, actually.
I do. The Last Jedi one right there. Yeah.
Oh, that's so
I think
funny.
it's the Last Jedi one. Is it the Last Jedi one?
It is
the Last Jedi one.
That's so funny because I got this one right here too.
Oh, that's awesome. I have the Rise of Skywalker, both of them, the yellow saber and the blue saber, on their way.
Oh, awesome!
They're on pre-order.
Look, if you're just tuning in, Jake and I are big old nerds.
Very true. Very true. I think actually, it's funny. I think we have the same. You can't see mine, but we have the same hot toy.
Yeah, and the Sullivan Mansolinos also have it because I sent it to him as a Christmas gift last year.
Nice. Yeah. No, to me that is like that. The old armor is just beautiful.
It's
so good.
But yeah, again, the Imperial March is incredible. It also makes me think of Disney World, because when you're in Hollywood Studios, even before Galaxy's Edge was built, and you're standing outside of Star Tours, and there's like the cheesy stage show, it would start playing, and then Darth and the Stormtroopers would start marching, and it just, I don't know, it's iconic. Absolutely. I don't use that word lightly.
Absolutely,
it's perfect. It's really perfect.
Absolutely agree. 100% agree with you. All right, number 2 for me. I am going to choose probably outside of the main Star Wars theme, maybe one that's very, very well known as far as Star Wars fans, and that is Binary Sunsets.
Okay.
Binary Sunsets for me, outside of like I said, the main track is very much like the Star Wars theme. That's kind of what I get from it. It's very subtle. It's very quiet. It kind of builds a little bit. It's that moment Luke is looking at the two suns on Tatooine. And it also is considered the Force theme, which is why I play into it as well. We hear it a lot throughout Star Wars. But it just, when I watch Star Wars, and it's not every aspect for me, but I really fully love what happens with the Jedi and the mythology and everything. And this is what this track is all about. It screams hope, looking to the future and finding your destiny, if you will, as I mentioned earlier. It's officially titled Hologram/Binary Sunsets because it begins with Leia's hologram in the original Star Wars and then transfers into Luke looking at the two suns. Binary Sunsets at number 2.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much spoke about this theme earlier when I did Yoda and the Force. And if you'll allow me to pontificate for a second, I am obsessed with the idea of the Force in so much as I am not, I am proudly culturally Jewish.
Yeah.
But the actual God spirituality aspect of religion, I struggle with. I am agnostic at best and atheistic at worst on my worst days. But there's something I find calming and enticing about the notion of an unseen force sort of overseeing everything, helping to create balance in the world between light and dark. And I think when you look back in the Tanakh, which is the Jewish version of the Bible, the way that God and spirituality explained actually has a lot in common with the Force. I mean, I think that's true with all religions. I mean, I think George, when he created the Force, it was based on, a lot of ancient East Asian religions and stuff, and all religion, in one way or another stems from the same place. So that theme in Binary Sunset or Yoda and the Force, it calms me and it makes me feel that balance.
It's a really good word, is calming. It's a very, very good word. All right, here we are. Number 1, our number 1 for the moment, for today anyway. Our favorite Star Wars track of all time. Maxwell, what do you got, man?
So part of me wants to be like, what do you think it is? Just based on, I won't do that to you. I don't know if this is going to be a surprise. I don't know how people feel about this track now. I will say it's probably in my least favorite live action Star Wars movie. But I also think the song is a masterpiece, and it is Across the Stars.
I had a feeling that was gonna make it in some way. Okay.
Which is the love theme for Anakin and Padme. Yep. And what I love about this track is it really reminds me of something you would hear in a black and white 1940s melodrama.
That's a good comparison.
Like so much of Star Wars music, it's very grand and over the top. This has beautiful strings work. I don't buy/love the way the romance is depicted in Attack of the Clones. But this theme, this song is something I have listened to steadily since that movie came out. And I loved the movie when I was younger, and it's still Star Wars, and so I still love it. It's just at the bottom of my list. But this track, it is romantic. It's lush. You can like picture them frolicking in the greeneries of Naboo. You could picture them in their picnic.
Yeah.
You could picture them yelling about sand being coarse and rough. But yeah, it's just, to me, it's like, goes head to head with those iconic great love themes of classic golden age Hollywood. And I have to think that's what John was going for, because let's not forget, and I think when the prequels came out, some people forgot this, like George's intentions with Star Wars was to make film versions of pulp serials like Flash Gordon and all that stuff that he loved as a kid. And they are meant for kids. But yeah, I love Across the Stars. It makes me emotional. It's so beautiful. It's great music to write by. It's my number one. Surprise.
Look, no, I mean, hey, am I surprised? Sure, but I'm not shocked in any notion that this is number one or even on the list in any capacity. I will say that it made my top 15. It was about I think it was like the 13th range. And I love the track. I think it's a beautiful piece of music. We've talked about it throughout the show today that a lot of what stands out for John Williams' music is that the stuff that is unique and different from what we're typically getting. And this was very unique. It stands out. It plays to what the entire trilogy of the prequels were, right? We love the Obi-Wan stuff. We love the Order 66 and like seeing the rise of Vader and stuff. But ultimately, the three movies were about a love story. And this is like this is almost can be considered the main theme of the prequels, because it's about Anakin, it's about Padme, it's about their story and eventually leading into Luke and Leia for the original trilogy. Yeah. It's a great piece of music. It's very subtle, and like you said, when I hear it, I can see all those scenes playing out. I can see Padme reaching for his robotic hand. Like I can see all that stuff happening at the end of the movie. I can see it happening in the middle of the movie. It really is a really, really good piece of music, and I'm very happy that it did make the list. And it's awesome that's your number one. Like, that's awesome.
It actually, like, of putting this list together was the easiest choice. I was like, well, I know what my number one is, and let's build everything else. So whatever that says about me, I don't know. I'm a mush at heart.
No, that's good, man. That is good. All right, number one for me is actually one that was mentioned quite a while ago. And for me, in my all-time favorite movie, The Empire Strikes Back, favorite Star Wars movie, favorite movie in general, and my favorite Star Wars scene in general. And I'm going Yoda and the Force. Yoda and the Force. There's just so much about this scene. Like, to me, this is, if I were to tell someone that had never seen Star Wars, hey, can I show you one scene to see if you get interested? This is kind of the scene that I would go for.
Are you listening, Brandy?
Brandy, there you go. Watch this scene. Watch this scene, Brandy. No, I did a full episode on the do or do not, there was no try quote, but last year sometime, this track, Yoda talking to Luke and Luke learning all about the Force and trying to understand it, and not really getting what it's supposed to do and what it means to be this larger than life person now. And then Yoda stepping in and raising that X-Wing from the swamp, doing what Luke thought was impossible. And really opening his eyes to this entire world that he's a part of. It's just beautiful. Like, that's the best word that I can say, is that it's just absolutely beautiful. It may not be like the most upbeat Star Wars track, but to me, it is what Star Wars is. Like, that's just, and I mentioned it very early on, but when I think of music, I think of the scenes, and having this be my favorite scene in Star Wars plays a huge aspect into that. But yeah, Yoda and the Force, it's just so beautiful. And the fact that we've gotten 12 movies and nothing has topped it yet, like, it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I had it on my list. I talked about it before. And yeah, Empire is my favorite Star Wars movie. It's in my top 10 favorite movies ever. I don't know necessarily if this is my favorite scene. I haven't thought about it. That's a fascinating question, but this piece of music. And I know, now that we both presented our lists, how interesting is it that neither of us actually just put the goddamn Star Wars theme,
the main title,
because it's amazing. It's like, it is Star Wars, and I feel like it was just sort of one of those things where, like, I was like, well, Jake's gonna have it, so I won't.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that it ended up like that. Like it's almost like a given that of course it's going to be on there.
I sort of feel like it's like a a handicap in
Exactly.
like golf terms. You're just like,
Exactly.
well, I know we don't need to put this on because of course.
But I love the fact that we didn't even talk about it and it just didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, I think in both end credit tracks I featured from Revenge of the Sith and Phantom Menace, it does sort of play, so it is in there, but that we didn't just use the OG one from Star Wars is like, oh, that's a choice.
Yeah. No, look, this was a lot of fun. I think the lists are incredible, and what's cool about it is they are so vastly different.
Yeah, we have very minor overlap.
Yeah, there's only like one or two tracks. Duel of the Fates.
Duel of the Fates and Yoda and the Force and Ray's Theme, I think, are the three we both had.
Yeah, so out of 12, we only matched up 3 of them, which is great. That's awesome. I love it. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much great music in Star Wars, and the fact that John Williams, he did his 9 movies. Now we're getting more from other composers. The Ludwig Göranssons of the world, the John Powells, the Michael Giacchinos, maybe the Hans Zimmers, maybe Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross step in there, which would be amazing. Wow.
That kind of just blew my mind a little bit. I don't know what that would sound like. Wow.
Imagine, how about this? How about they do the Acolyte?
Ooh. Okay. I mean, certainly we saw that they worked with Disney and on Soul, which is one of my favorite scores of last year. So wow.
There's a lot of options.
Who would have thought that in the year of our Lord 2021, when we're talking about like the most exciting film composers, we'd be talking about the lead singer of Nine Inch Nails? Like what? But yeah, he's written some of him and Atticus Ross, like ever since Social Network, have just like killed it with their film music. I could really talk film scores all day. It's like I said, it's just.
I mean, I have so many vinyls sitting back here. I'm with you. You, man. Well, Maxwell, I can't thank you enough for joining me today, man. This was an absolute blast. Talking Star Wars music. I'm sure we could have gone on for ages talking the amount of tracks on here, and I'm definitely going to have you back to do something, whether it's Star Wars music or something else, man. But I can't thank you enough for presenting the topic and introducing me to the whiskey as well, which is a big one.
Yeah. Look, it's no secret that over the past year I've fallen in love with streaming and doing YouTube shows, and so it never really feels like work for me. But this especially didn't feel like work. This just felt like hanging out and talking Star Wars and whiskey, which again, 2 of my favorite things. Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast, like you said. So much fun, and yeah, I love working with you, and I think there's a lot of exciting stuff we can do in the future.
Absolutely. Well, before we get out of here, man, if anybody watching who may not know you, where can they find you online?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at Cinemaxwell, Instagram Cinemaxwell Inc. I am basically the number 2 guy over at the PJ Campbell Network, a YouTube network where we pretty much have different shows on every night of the week. We do movie watch-alongs. We talk about music, Broadway. Sunday nights we do The Unwind, which is the show about whatever, where we just sit and shoot the shit. And perhaps most excitingly, I'm going to be competing in the First Class League of the Movie Trivia Schmodown, the new developmental league that starts on Twitch this Tuesday. I'm not in the first match, but I will be watching to start scoping out the competition. Hugely excited to be a part of that and maybe come on POV and smack talk some competitors, do a little interview there. I don't know what you guys have planned, but I'm available.
Absolutely. I mean, you already started the shit talking last night, so
look. Until told otherwise, I intend to go full heel.
I love it. Well, I can't wait to see it. And again, thank you so much for joining me today, man. It's been an absolute pleasure talking Star Wars officially with you and drinking some whiskey, guys. For me, at Qui-Gon Jake on all socials. A certain point of view, multiple times a week. Apocalypse movies here twice or every 2 weeks. I'm doing Whiskey Jedi as well. A lot of stuff going on, and of course, check out Maxwell and all his stuff as well. He's doing some great stuff. And thank you again for the shirt and joining me as well today. And everyone watching, love you guys. Thank you so much for watching me live. Really, really appreciate it. All you guys watching on the replay as well. And until next time, see you guys later, and may the Force be with you.